What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
You're a great old man, seriously.
Well, I haven't spent this much time in vain. The issue with Vega is more significant.
Gadra was unmoved by Laplace's attempts to sidestep the issue.
Me?
That's correct. I'm afraid I can't put my trust in you.
Why not?
Vega began to behave as if he didn't understand. Laplace couldn't help but be astounded by this. He responded with a shrug, as if to remind them.
I won't lie, I don't trust him either, but this person is one of ours as well. I know you believe we ought to eliminate him, but I want to have faith in him. After all, we can't do anything without the boss's approval. If he becomes too much the next time, we will take your advice. Let's see if we can forgive him and offer him a second chance.
It was a headache, Laplace grumbled. Vega was a moron. He's overly devoted to his own desires, and he's not very adept at reading people. But that didn't imply he didn't have any redeeming qualities. He wasn't the kind to work well in a group, but he did follow commands to a point. He was also strong. Getting rid of him here would be a waste of resources. Despite his concern that his occasionally problematic behavior might surpass the allowed range, Laplace reasoned that he should accompany and care for him. He'd gotten him just in time today, but Vega was just one step away from causing major issues. If he had even touched Caroline or Frey, Laplace would not have defended him. In fact, he would have killed him right there. It was awful enough that he attempted what he did, but...
I don't have decision-making authority, but I understand how you feel. After all, I'm not a stranger, and as long as you don't bother Sir Rimuru, it's alright.
Gadra was also acquainted with Vega. He felt it would be wrong for him to talk here, so he just expressed a conservative viewpoint.
I'm concerned about that as well.
Laplace was concerned as well, but he expressed it in a muddled voice. Gabble was the only one who burst out laughing.
A man's missteps can teach him a lot. Okay, fine. I'll choose to believe in you as well. As you've stated, Vega, pay close attention to Laplace and you'll become a superb warrior.
Gabble then patted Vega on the back. Despite his reservations, this was not the time to pause and reflect. Laplace instantly moved away, bringing Vega with him.
Was that the right thing to do?
No worries. It will be beneficial if Vega grows, and if he fails, Laplace will take the blame.
You have a darker streak in your heart than I suspected.
Despite your compliments, I will not receive anything in return.
Gadra realized he wasn't applauding him, but it was too much trouble to say so, so he remained silent. The mood lightened slightly, although they were still engaged in combat. They sought to change their thoughts and face the war after remembering this. That's when the fantastic news arrived.
Brother! Sir Rimuru has conquered Lady Velgrund, according to Moss. The executives appear to have boarded the enemy airship and are currently engaged in decisive combat with the adversary's main force. We simply cannot afford to lose.
After taking a break, Sokka went back to the front and shouted out the current circumstances. As a result, morale among Rimuru's forces increased dramatically. The Imperial Army, on the other hand, was in disarray. Aside from those who had lost their will and were going wild, the Chimera Knights, who had constituted the force's core, knew how dire their situation was. They'd lost their commander and couldn't count on any additional reinforcements. Nonetheless, the opposing forces kept coming, and defeating the enemy commander was hopeless. They would very certainly be overwhelmed and annihilated if they insisted on destroying the ex-demon lord who had demonstrated his weakness on the battlefield. The situation would have been different if someone had been in charge. However, there was no commander. It was reasonable for some of them to flee, fearing that things might not proceed as planned. Rimuru's subordinates, on the other hand, were overjoyed.
As expected of His Majesty Rimuru.
He beat Lady Velgrund? I can't believe that, but it's to be expected from Sir Rimuru.
He has triumphed. It's time to overwhelm the battle from now on.
Gabble and Gadra, of course, were no exception.
How fantastic. After all, Sir Rimuru is from another world.
Yes, indeed. Since I suddenly grew so strong, I've been wondering about him as well. After all, that voice must be tied to Sir Rimuru, as Diablo-sama had suspected.
Didn't you say something, Gadra?
Well, never mind. We still have a job to do here. Let's get started.
There was such a thing as being overly curious. Gadra was well aware of this, so he chose not to pursue it any further, and he wasn't sure including Gabble in the subject was such a good idea. Gabble returned his nod, his mind returning to the battlefield, and he issued the order to charge with his loudest roar of the day.
Volume 15, Chapter 4, The Eight Gates, Part 1.
With Laplace gone, just Diablo remained. His grin broadened as he marveled at how well everything was going. He'd be able to see his beloved master fight up close, which would be a vital reference for his own future duty. It was the ideal opportunity to assess what his master lacked and how he could compensate, and he was grateful.
Sir Rimuru, on the other hand, cannot be wanting in anything. The important thing here is to figure out how I should proceed.
Diablo wanted to be useful to Rimuru no matter what occurred. He also had another reason for not taking part in the war.
If I were to participate, I would have no trouble defeating anyone except Lady Velgrund. It would be a waste, wouldn't it?
They all had the opportunity to face the strongest of the strong, and they needed to take advantage of it. Diablo saw Benimaru as growing as well. Evolution had given him much greater strength, and fighting worthy opponents was the best way to refine that strength. That was true not only for Benimaru, but for all of the other top cabinet members to whom Rimuru granted power. And, knowing the tough hurdles that might await them, Diablo wanted to make sure he took full advantage.
Although I believe Sir Benimaru saw through my scheme, judging by the fact that he made no complaint about it, that must have been his plan from the start.
Benimaru, despite his usually placid appearance, can be rather violent. He had a penchant for taking on the most powerful opponents possible, though not as much as Diablo. The demon was looking forward to his future development. Surviving this struggle would undoubtedly make him stronger.
In addition, Sir Rimuru's decrees must be obeyed. We are not allowed to die, so there is only one option: victory.
He wished for everyone to survive and be reborn as even stronger versions of themselves. He was determined to provide them with all the assistance they needed to achieve their objective. The power that is given to you as a gift has no meaning. Only by actively acquiring it and utilizing it to its greatest potential will it achieve its full shine, and they had the ideal stage here to accomplish just that. Give them a foe, then take them down. Diablo believed that Rimuru hoped for the growth that would result from that.
Testarrosa is one thing, but I can't help but observe how folks like Carrera and Ultima are simply flinging their strength around in battle. Carrera, in fact, has a special problem with this. Giving them a more difficult struggle might be beneficial to them, so they had better survive, or else I'll kill them.
His grin widened even more. The excitement he felt was reaching a fever pitch as he saw Rimuru and Velgrund battle right before his eyes. The Imperial Knights had gathered on the Emperor's flagship's outer deck. Velgrund was present, her presence as the Empire's guardian inspiring the Knights' fighting spirit.
Victory is assured with Lady Velgrund on our side!
That's right. Now all we have to do is do our part.
We could take over the Western nations right away if we won this battle.
You're correct. The day is coming when our Emperor will unify the entire world under one banner.
Long live the Emperor!
All glory to the Emperor.
They weren't holding back their emotions on that confined deck. They were all staring at the enemy in front of them.
The followers of the Demon Lord are approaching!
Their demise became inevitable the moment the evil Valdora was taken from them.
Some of them were already mocking the adversary, but the vast majority kept silent while unsheathing their swords. The reason was obvious: the forces heading their way posed a direct threat to them. They were expecting this to be the ultimate battle and moved to intercept them. But they had no idea. They were completely unaware of the impending doom. And once they realized what was going on, their lives would be over. Testarrosa glided over the skies, her face solemn, as if something was upsetting her. People were naively waving swords atop the airship that was her target.
Oh, my brother. They see us and continue to confront us. Could they be any more oblivious?
Benimaru remained deafeningly silent. He wanted to nod his head in agreement, but he regarded it as normal for an opposing force to do so. As a result, he bit his tongue. In some ways, the judgment demonstrated that Benimaru still operated within a framework based on common sense. The truly insane revealed their strangeness from the start of their cognitive processes, and Testarrosa took action to prove it.
How dare you judge the strong incorrectly? It's so pitiful. They deserve mercy, not fear.
To be honest, Testarrosa wanted to go on a small rampage, showing off her skills and feeding off their grave terror. However, if you're battling an opponent who is fully committed to the war, it takes time to instill terror in their hearts. That was both frustrating and distracting from the mission's goal, so she made the decision to get rid of these intruders as soon as possible. Without further ado, Testarrosa cast a spell that was intended to affect the entire airship. This was the nuclear magic death streak, the most powerful forbidden spell that could even kill people's souls. It was now using all of its cruel power. A jet-black sphere formed around the airship, bringing death to everybody on board. Almost everyone on board was killed all at once after being exposed to an insidious radiation that was fatal to all kinds of life. Major General Zamdo, who had just completed chatting with Gladium and was preoccupied with preparing for the next war, was one of them, disappearing without even realizing it. This time, luck was simply not on his side. If Rimuru hadn't been so distracted, he would have remembered Calgurio's pleas to spare his warriors and ordered his troops to keep Zamdo and the others out of it. The reality, on the other hand, was incomparably crueler, and death struck them all equally.
That soon? We don't have much to do here now, even though I know I ordered a preemptive strike.
Perhaps I overreacted a little. I was simply attempting to save you the hassle.
Ha! You mean you didn't want anyone else stealing your prey?
Testarrosa gleefully smiled at Benimaru's admonition.
Oh, you noticed that. Sir Benimaru, you've always been an intelligent man.
Never before have I been so depressed by a compliment.
Despite this, Benimaru did not view it as a problem. In reality, he was relieved to be spared the trouble. The two later arrivals, on the other hand, were significantly more obnoxious.
I asked you to save some for us as well.
Talk about a blunder in judgment. We should have left Diablo alone and prioritized this.
Ultima and Carrera exchanged icy looks with Testarrosa. With a sardonic look, she shrugged them off.
You both still have a lot to learn. Examine the airship more closely. There are various types of survivors for us.
That's right. Anyone who would let something like that happen to them would never be a good foe for us. In reality, I should appreciate you for weeding them out in such a manner.
I appreciate it, Lady Xian.
Testarrosa smiled, knowing she had been correct all along. Her smile revealed her satisfaction at someone detecting her intentions. Only spiritual lifeforms and other people who were compatible with the magic were able to endure the effects of Deathstreak. With luck, even the enlightened will be able to live. But, in any case, if anyone was still alive on board, it was safe to presume they were tough as nails. Ultima and Carrera were still angry, but they realized that whining wouldn't help their cause. When they realized this, they decided to back down. The raid then commenced under Benimaru's direction. The Imperial Knights were largely reduced to a mass of corpses when the troop landed on the airship's outer deck. At the very least, their bodies remained, demonstrating how fiercely they attempted to avoid their destiny.
No! I don't want to die!
Some were still clinging to life, straining for the heavens in vain, but their lives were all but finished. They couldn't be saved by healing medicine or magic. Their fates were sealed the instant they crossed Testarrosa.
New episode. In solo leveling, after a crushing defeat, Huang returns with vengeance in his heart. His deadly hunt for Sung Il-wan has begun. Don't miss the action in episode 23. Tune in now.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Chad Vota, Chris Guzman, Havox, Speed Saber, James Waters, Arijit Das, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Justa Guy, Misael W. Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rossan, Jerry Sladek, Stone Larone, Alfonso Smith, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, John Charles, Godman Gaming, Akon Engok, Markithian Tidwell, Andre L. Hamilton, Adrian, Kumo, Sanketh Chelu, T. Bush, John L., Edgar Fuentes, JV, Dirty Old Hobo, Gonse Direco, Thomas, J., Christ, Juan Ignacio, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Vethelny, Lunel Scarlett, Khalid, Christian Deshazer, Cal Robs, Divine C. Harris, Panda Cats, Aaron Alarcon, DeAndre Nance, Monty Boy 98, D-Man, Ruben, Luis Caro, Yuki Iki, Pedro Robles, Chris Jr., Isaac, Koala King 93, Paul DeGrassi, Little 95, Coyote de Peza, Quilly Buckner, Zephyras, Alver, Normal Defate, Joshua Andrade, Jaya Keshav, L, Gary Miles, Nobody 0034, Dragon Spawn 666, J Rule, Sayonori, Alfredo Renteria, Liel Tiram, Liron Sangkap, Eric Tass, Christopher Mash, Echo Tski, Foolish Prophets, Ethan Madison, Louis Strutter, Charles Bailey, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Nick H, Andre Hamilton, Jason Torres, Sesh, Guy Ansley, Simon Road, Emperor WSA, Mika Espinosa, George Hage, Pratik Bandari, Arod Dare, Faiz Mansour, Deriha Skerte, Jackson Early, Smexy, Carl Stephen Bernadal, Tank Bailey, Gareth Hashimoto, Byron, Steven Madison, Homelike Drop, Nasir, Vasto Lord, Martin Ramos, Marl Barsha, Karen, Mark Charlie Els, Hansel Ortega, Yellow Wally, Efrain Hernandez, Luca Gaming WTF, William Locke, Jordan Mersha, Bismarck Mark Munoz, Arayan Booker, Kamal Luke, Izat, Wei Jun, Alvin Quarty, Chris Kaalim, Shin Kaizan, Kyusing Sang. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.